Understanding the passage of food. Hi, I'm Hayley from Parallel Coaching, and in this video I'm going to give you a story-based acronym to help you remember and understand the passage of food from eating all the way down through to going to the toilet, so you can understand everything that's needed, especially if you're working towards your level 3 nutrition exam or your level 3 nutrition case study, whereby you need to understand this information in relation to passage of food, digestion and absorption. So before I get started, I just want to draw your attention to some mock questions. So because this is a typical information that you might find in your exam, I want you to be totally prepared. So you can go and download hundreds of mock questions by following the link that is with this video, and you'll notice that on the top corner, and that will allow you to test your knowledge so far. But I've also got 3 very specific mock questions for you in this video in the show notes, so just scroll down and have a look. And by the end of this video, you'll be able to answer those and pop your answers in the comments as well. So let's understand the passage of food. So the acronym I'm going to give you today is based on a story. So what I'd like you to do is to imagine a DJ, they're in LA, and I like to kind of imagine Kate Moss for this, or somebody called Moss, but let's imagine Kate Moss is a DJ and she's in LA doing her DJ thing. This is going to help you write down the acronym. Now, the acronym is in several parts. First of all, you've got MOSS, so M-O-S-S. You're going to write that down the side. Then you're going to have DJ, so as in DJing, and then I, representing in, and then L-A is the third part. So you've got MOSS, DJ in, L-A. And you just write those down on the left-hand side of your piece of paper. And now as we go through, we're going to fill in each of the sections that relate to the passage of food, going from eating your food all the way down through to the toilet. So first thing is mouth. This is where we take our food, which is our fats, our proteins, our carbohydrates, our fibre, our water, everything that goes in. So as we take that food and we pop it into our mouth, we basically start our digestion process straight away. And that's because we start off with mechanical digestion, which is whereby our mouth, so our jaw, our teeth, our tongue are literally churning down the food. And you know this because you take food that you can see that's large and chunk it down using your teeth. Then you also have chemical digestion that happens in the mouth. And this is because our saliva, our amylase is the name of the enzyme, starts breaking down the most simplest of carbohydrates. And you'll know this because if you've ever had like candy floss, it's very simple sugars, and you put it on your tongue, it almost dissolves straight away, and it literally starts that digestion process straight away, which is chemical digestion via amylase in the mouth. So that's the mouth. The next thing is the esophagus. So this is basically the pipe that joins your mouth all the way down through to your stomach. And this pipe is essentially there to pass food down through, but to make sure that food goes that way and doesn't reverse back up. And it does this through a mechanism called peristalsis. So peristalsis happens within smooth muscle walls. So a type of muscular wall that is all smooth. And as it does, it almost has a wave-like approach as it contracts, which encourages it to move in one direction. And we have that happen in our esophagus, but we also have that happen in our intestines when we get down to those later. And you'll also find the same action happens within our arteries and our veins as well. So some of our blood vessels, whereby they're moving through, and that's because it's smooth muscle. So that's the esophagus. Then at the end of the esophagus, we go down to the stomach. Now, most people are aware of the stomach, but I like to kind of see this as a big carrier bag, in the fact that it allows you to have all of the food you've just eaten sit in there for usually between 2 and 4 hours, which means you can have your breakfast, then you can be working your way on to work, you can be walking, you can be driving, and all the time be gradually releasing the little bits of food into your system so that it can deal with it as and when you need it, rather than sort of all at once. And it basically sort of drip feeds it throughout the day. Now, it does that through a little sphincter called the pyloric sphincter, which is behind, like literally the back of your stomach as it leads into your small intestine. And it basically is a little sphincter that opens up, and it allows about 1 teaspoon of food every minute, which as it allows 1 teaspoon through, that's just enough for your rest of your body to go and focus on digesting that without there being too much going on. And you'll actually know that, like, if you've suffered from acid reflux or anything like that before, or not being able to digest properly, it's usually down to having sort of too much of a backlog here and not being able to get enough food go through that pyloric sphincter. So what happens inside the stomach? Other than being a carrier bag, it also has lots of hydrochloric acid inside the stomach, which is great for killing off any bacteria before it goes into the depths of our intestines for absorption. So that all gets killed off in that space. And there's also other enzymes that occur in the stomach as well. And these are here to dissolve and digest our proteins. So the ones in particular that might come up are going to be pepsin, which would be one that you'd need to know about for your exam. And this helps digest and break down proteins. So then all this mixes together, like I said, for 2 to 4 hours inside our stomach, ready to be carried around. And then through that little pyloric sphincter, the real small amounts of fluid, and it's called chyme, this really small fluid starts to go through into the small intestine. And now we're on the second S. So essentially we've had mouth, esophagus, stomach, and now small intestine. And that makes up the first section of your acronym that you had. Now, small intestine is broken down into 3 sections, and that's what makes up the next section of your acronym, D, J, and I. So let's start with D. This is duodenum. So the duodenum is the very top section of your small intestine. Now, this very top section is literally designed to just do digestion. It just breaks down the rest of the foods. So we've broken down some proteins in the stomach, we broke down some small amounts in the carbs, but the rest is going to be breaking down carbs, fats and proteins in the duodenum. And that's the area whereby we're breaking down those carbs, fats and proteins, and we also have other enzymes that will help this, like the bile from the liver or different enzymes that come from the pancreas to help break down specific fats and proteins. Now, this is a really important place because once it's broken down, it can move into the jejunum, which is the next part of the small intestine. Now, the jejunum and the next part, the ileum, act very, very similar. So these 2 sections are all part of the small intestine, but they are all about absorption. So here they look a little bit different. They have a specific feature, which are these little kind of like finger-like protrusions all around the edges of them, which are kind of like hairs or finger-like villi, and they're really small, which allow for extra surface area. And the idea here is that this is the point whereby all that digestion can now start to be absorbed into our bloodstream via these villi. Now, this is where our carbohydrates turn into glucose when they're circulating around our body. And if we then store them in our muscles and our liver, they become glycogen. So instead of now being called carbs, as soon as they enter our bloodstream, they have a different name. And that's the broken down chemical name of glucose when it's around the blood and glycogen inside the stored liver and muscles. Then for protein, they're called amino acids. So as they get broken down and moved into the bloodstream, ready to be transported to where we need it most, they're called amino acids. And for fats, they're broken down into fatty acids and triglycerides. And they will float around the blood and be delivered to the areas that we need. So the same words go from being called carbs, fats and proteins that we're maybe familiar with in terms of what we're consuming, but then when they pass into the bloodstream, that name changes into the broken down version of it, which is something that you definitely need to know about. So we've had mouth, esophagus, stomach, and then the small intestine, which is then broken down into the duodenum, the jejunum, and the ileum. So then we're into the final part, which is large intestine and anus. So large intestine is essentially the section whereby all of this remaining stuff inside your intestines is started to be compacted together. And the first stage of that is to remove any excess water, and with that, any vitamins and minerals as well. So large intestine is a key site for the absorption of vitamins and minerals, and to extract all that fluid and hydration out of our waste products so that we can use that to hydrate the body. Then this remaining stool basically moves through the large intestine and prepares ready to be able to go to the toilet via the anus, which is the role of the anus is to literally open and close under our control to allow us to remove the waste products and send them off down the toilet ready to go. So that's basically the journey from mouth all the way down through to the toilet. So we've literally journeyed down through and we've used the acronym MOS is a DJ in LA to remember that sequence so we don't get them all mixed up. It's acronyms like this that make it really easy to remember all the information on exam day, especially if there's processes to remember or a specific structure or long list of information. And it makes it much easier to sort of condense that information in your brain and refer back to it. And it's acronyms like this that we use inside our Level 3 Nutrition Revision Mastery Bootcamp. So if you are working towards your Level 3 nutrition exam or even your case study, and you're finding it difficult to learn the information, then just know there is a better way. We instruct in videos just like this, and we break it down in real simplified terms so that you're able to really go forward and understand it. You can then download the videos to MP4 and MP3 so you can listen and learn whilst you're out moving around, and download cheat sheets to help you really make sense of all the information and test your knowledge. So if you want to join us for the Revision Mastery Bootcamp, all you need to do is to click the link that is with this video, and you'll notice all the information is on there about how you can join our bootcamp. I'd love to know what your big takeaway is from today. So all you need to do is drop a comment below and just let me know what is the one big thing that you've taken from this video all about the passage of food. And also, if you want to, you can answer the questions that are in the description as well and leave your answer in the comments. I really look forward to hearing from you. And if you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, make sure you click the link that is with this video, and also like and share with your friends as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care.